All right, what is happening? Welcome to week 4 of the Other D1 podcast. My name is Jordan Selfo. As always, joining me is Kyle. I can't make a stamp pick to save my life. Fishback. Kyle, how we doing, man?
I'd be doing a lot better if I could hit that pick. You're right.
0-6, man. I really want to do a punishment, but obviously Kyle doesn't because
Yeah, we
he's
should establish that before the season.
0-6, yeah. I'm sitting at 4-2, so I'm pretty happy about that. If you're watching on video, I was boots on the ground for the Southeastern game. Obviously, I'm repping hard, and then the Saints obviously repping the Saints. I mean, we might go to the Super Bowl. We're talking soupy.
They look good, man.
I mean,
Cowboys
against the
fan.
Cowboys,
uh,
Jesus.
They dismantled them.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah,
What else you had from the weekend?
a lot of football. I like what I
Yep.
saw at A&M. Their backup quarterback able to go down the swamp, get the victory there.
Starter sucks.
Wegman dealing with an injury. Yeah, I'm not
He
not
sucks.
sure he's going to get back in the rotation, or if he does, it's not going to be full time.
Well, let's go ahead and jump right into it. We're gonna go through our week 3 recap. First game we got is Northwestern State playing over there at South Alabama. Kyle, this was a tough one. You texted me at one point. You said, "Holy shit, South Alabama might put up 100 in this game." Final there is 87-10. Just a tough money game. Not much to talk about on this one.
No, not at all. Ugly, ugly, ugly. The best thing to do if you're Northwestern State. I'm sure they've already done this. We're obviously recording after the fact. You watch the film once, you try to take away what you can, and
Yep.
then you chunk that. You put it out of your mind,
Yep.
and you move forward. There's
Move on to
nothing,
the next week.
nothing else to be done here. This is just, I mean, every time South Alabama touched a football, it was in the end zone.
I know it was tough to watch,
I
but
think we
yeah,
also need to taper expectations for Northwestern a little bit. I mean, the season they're coming off of last year, basically a whole new football team.
right.
We need to give them a little bit of leeway here. Coach McCorkle's rebuilding that program.
Yeah, that's
Trust
true.
the process. Trust that they're headed in the right direction, and it's going to take time. You're not going
Yeah,
to.
stats weren't great. We're not going to dive too deep into that. Yeah, it's just like you said, throw the tape out, move on to the next week. Let's keep building, let's keep moving forward. And, we got conference play coming up, so that's going to be a better test. You know what I mean? Obviously, they had a tough loss against Prairie View A&M the week before, but it'll really showcase, where they stand as a football program once we get more into conference play. So
Yeah,
that's really all I got for that one.
I agree. Let's move on to our next one here. Game of the week was number 12 UIW headed up to number 9 Southern Illinois, the Salukis.
The freaking Salukis.
They pulled it out. The Salukis beat us
I know.
35-28.
That weak ass dog.
Another heartbreaker for UIW.
Yeah, this one was a tough one. Zach Calzada, he had a pretty damn good game. I mean, especially with some of his scramble plays. I mean, there's that one touchdown in the red zone. He went 35 of 54 for 366 yards, 3 tutties, and a pick. And then he also had that rushing touchdown. And then you got D. Kalon Taylor with 32 yards on 8 attempts. He led the way rushing for them. I mean, dude, those two guys
Yeah,
are studs at receiver with Roy Alexander and Jalen Walthall.
both over 100 yards again.
Both over 100 yards. Jalen had 2 tutties. I mean, they're a high-powered offense. They're a problem. I mean, they especially once we get more into conference play, like we talked about, they're gonna show up some teams for sure.
My notes here, they're certainly going to be competitive in conference. We know that. They've got too much athleticism. But, when you're playing a team like Southern Illinois, that's the type of caliber that you're going to meet in the playoffs if you want to get there. So
Yeah.
you got to find a way. This is a tale of two halves. We came out, couldn't stop anything. I mean,
Right.
Southern Illinois was up 35-14 at half. Really, hats off to the defense, pitching a shutout in the second half, and our offense finally getting rolling. Some play calling, I got some questions over some play calls,
Which ones?
especially early in the game. It just felt like it's either a screen pass or we're throwing it 45 yards downfield. There's no intermediate
Gotcha. Yeah.
stuff going on there, and I think that limits what you can do on offense. And it showed. We didn't keep up in the first half, but yeah, props to them for fighting back. And like I said, the defense
Hell of
pitching
a
a
job.
shutout.
Hell of
Yeah.
a job in the second half. DeClam Williams with 13 total tackles leading the way there. So that's all I got for that game. What about you?
Yeah, you mentioned Calzada making some plays with his feet, and his stats look good. He does some incredible things at times. So you're like, goodness. I mean,
Yeah, how do we have this guy?
yeah, exactly right. I mean, spinning twice out of 2 tackles, throwing it 45 yards downfield, stuff like that. And then there's other plays where he tries to do that and it backfires, and you're just sitting there scratching your head, going, "Put that one in the bleachers. Let's live to fight another
Right.
down."
Right.
So
Yeah, boomer bust there. Need to see more consistent play out of him, but we'll move on to the next game. Damn, heartbreaker. Grambling takes the win 35-28 over A&M Commerce in overtime. The story here, Kyle, is you got to take care of the football. I mean, Ron Peace, 14-28 with 152 yards, 4 picks.
you're exactly right. I mean, the fact that they're even in that football game, even going to overtime with that many turnovers,
Yeah.
they're leading 28-21 with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Grambling drives down, ties up the ball game. 2 weeks in a row now, you've been in it late.
Right.
Obviously, you played up to your competition last week against UC Davis, had a chance to tie the ball game, couldn't get it done. Now here you are the following week, probably playing down a little bit to your competition.
Yeah.
And not finding a way to close it out. Got to be frustrating for A&M Commerce.
Yeah, it got to be frustrating for Coach Dolezal. I mean, especially a coach he's a quarterback guy. I mean, taking care of the football is the utmost priority as a quarterback. Can't be making those bad throws, and then he had that pick in overtime. Really, I mean, BK Jackson with 149 yards rushing on 16 attempts, and he had 2 touchdowns. That was awesome to see because it was such a pass-heavy game last game,
right,
with A&M Commerce, and then now they come out and they're like, hey, we're gonna pound the rock, and that was cool to see. The reverse side of that, but just on the passing side, you got to take care of the football. And then my boy B Tuck, Brandon Tucker Jr. with 10 total tackles, with one of those being a TFL. Tackle for loss, and then a forced fumble, which that forced fumble was huge. I saw the replay of that.
You could tell Coach Dozell started favoring the running attack after the first 2 picks.
Yeah.
BK, able to move the rock.
For sure.
You're still forced to throw the ball, and some of those picks from Ron Peace were just not acceptable. There's ones that bounce off receivers' hands. That wasn't the case.
Right. Yeah. These are just bad decisions, bad throws into double, triple coverage, whatever, and yeah, just bad throws. Come on, we got to fix that up.
So moving on to our next game, a huge win for Houston Christian. They needed this one.
Yeah.
Louisiana Christian University headed to Houston Christian University, Battle of the Christians. Final there was 70-7 HCU. Like I said, much needed win for Houston Christian.
Yeah, huge confidence boost. I mean, especially for a team that's been struggling the first couple weeks. I mean, yeah, they had some tough opponents, but to go out and put up 70 on a school. Granted, yes, it's a NAIA school. They almost covered my 67 spread that I said last week on the preview.
Yeah.
Eli Bricklander, he was 6 for 6 with 126 yards, two touchdowns, and Cutter Stewart 4 for 10 for 126 and 2 touchdowns. So Cutter was starting, and then they brought in Eli once the game was getting out of hand. So that was good to see. Just a good confidence boost for the boys.
Get some guys some experience who normally wouldn't see the field. Always good. I mean, it's tough to lose a football game when your opponent turns it over 5 times.
Yeah.
One thing I will note, we gotta get some duct tape and wrap the football around some Houston Christian running backs because they had 3 fumbles of their own. Yeah, you can't get away with that in conference play. So
for sure,
I'm sure they'll be doing some drills this week.
Oh yeah. I'm sure Coach Bechtel will have maybe that bucket drill where they dip the football in the water and then all right, let's run some run plays. But moving on, we got a nice little upset. I love to see it coming out of the Southland Conference. Weber State falls to Lamar 17-16. Missed field goal at the end. That was awesome to see. I hate kickers.
Man, this is a battle of attrition. Ball possession, grind it out, find a way. I mean, defenses both played lights out. One of those deals, yeah, just outlast your opponent is really what it was. Robert
Coleman started off the game. He was 6-14 for 61 yards and a pick. He got knocked out of this game, didn't he, Kyle?
He did. So definitely was effective early on with his legs that caught up to him. He got hit pretty hard late in the second quarter. Tried to come back in. They went into halftime. The training staff and the coaching staff made the decision that, hey, we got to go with our backup here, Jacoby Longio, a junior out of Missouri City, Texas.
Longio or Longino? I don't know. One of
It's
those two.
Longio. Yeah.
There you go. I like it.
He came in for Robert Coleman in the second half. And I mean, he did his job. He hit a big one to Damian Moore on a wheel route out of the
Yep.
backfield for 72 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, that was
Um,
big. Robert Coleman, he was one of the leading rushers in the first half with 63 yards. And then obviously you got Kalen Griffin, just a stud running back. I mean, he's putting up some big numbers. I mean, he had 91 yards this game. But yeah, like you said with Damian Moore, that touchdown was huge. And then Savon Ray with 4 receptions for 47 yards and a touchdown there. So it was awesome to see everybody rush the field after. I mean, after that missed field goal. So
yeah, likewise. Great win for Lamar. Excited to see what they're going to do in conference. Moving on to our next matchup here. We got the Southeastern Lions getting their first win of the year.
woo!
Playing Eastern Washington. His final on that was 28-24 in Hammond, Louisiana. What are you thinking, Jordan? You got your trucker hat on?
And that's another lion. The announcer was doing that a lot throughout this game. I was sitting with my buddy David Birch, shout out David, and his saying over and over, "Run the damn ball." That's it. That was the key to this game. Antonio Martin had 149 yards rushing, and Harlan Dixon came. He was rotating in with him. He had 92 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns. Just the offensive line was getting such a good push up front against that Eastern Washington defense. Yeah, it was great to see my dad get a huge win. I mean, Eastern Washington's a damn good football program. They have been for a long time. It was a lot of fun. We celebrated hard after this one. Had a few beverages. I'm still probably paying the price for it today, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then everybody saw that video that I posted in the locker room on Twitter. That was awesome. That was so much fun just to see that song come back. And yeah, it was a great victory.
Great win. I mean, good win for Southeastern and the conference as a whole. I mean, Big Sky is no joke.
Yeah.
To beat a team like Eastern Washington. And I think it also reminds us that we need to take those money games, those FBS games with a grain of salt, because we were really dogged on SLU and the offense. And granted, they needed to make some improvements. And
yeah, I mean, the passing game wasn't really there this game either. Eli Sawyer was only 12 of 21 for 72 yards. He did have a couple touchdowns. Those were down in the red zone area. Yeah, I mean, they still need to get going with the passing game better. Eli's got to be more consistent. The fact that you didn't even need that for this one, they figured out pretty early on that, hey, let's just run the damn ball.
Yep.
And we're going to roll through this thing. So it was awesome to see that late touchdown come in the fourth quarter to go up 28-24. So moving on to the next game. This is a big one. First conference game. We have SFA playing McNeese. McNeese comes away with the win on this one, 28-24.
Credit McNeese for hanging around and finding a way to win.
Yeah.
Also, everything we've been talking about with them, slow start. It looked like SFA was going to run away early. If I'm SFA, I'm a little frustrated too, because they did have some opportunities to really put it out of reach in the first half. Big win for McNeese. I mean, they just found a way to hang in there and they get some crucial touchdowns late. McDowell, big body, 6'5". Anytime you're within 10 yards of the end zone, just let him have the ball. He's going to find it. So
yeah, he had 2 rushing touchdowns. He was the Southland Conference Player of the Week. He went 18 of 29 for 313 yards with 2 tutties and 2 rushing. You almost got to look at SFA on the other side. That interception that could have been the difference in the game. Sam Vidlock, he went 18 to 28 with 241 and 3 touchdowns, but that pick, that could have been the difference.
Yeah, for me, it's really the defense. It just, first off, I don't know if you saw, this was on top plays. The last second Hail Mary at the end of the half.
Yeah.
McDowell avoids a sack. I mean, the guy basically has him wrapped up, throws him off, throws it 45, 50 yards downfield, and somehow McNeese receiver comes down with it in the end zone.
I know.
So right there, I mean, there's 7 points that they shouldn't have had that SFA could have benefited from. And then another, just one of the craziest plays I've seen, about 1:30 left in the third quarter. Running back for McNeese goes up the middle. He's up the field about 10 yards, fumbles the ball. It bounces off the turf right into a DB's hands. He takes off down the sideline. He's probably got 40 yards to the end zone. As he's about the 5-yard line, he just straight up drops the ball. and it rolls out the
my
back of the end zone.
God.
It was the craziest sequence of events I've seen in a long time on a football field. Long story short, McNeese gets the ball back at their own 20 when SFA could have had the ball on the 5-yard line or had 7 points out of the deal.
Yeah, no kidding.
So just, again, some missed opportunities, some crazy turn of events.
Yeah, and SFA had a good rushing game. I mean, Quaylen Jones led the way with 155 yards on 27 attempts. You know, not a huge rushing game out of McNeese. They were mainly, throwing through the air, but Clifton obviously making some plays with his feet. Like you said with the defense, you got Tristan Driggers. He had 14 total tackles. Bugsy Silvera with 12 total tackles, one forced fumble and a pass breakup. So, I mean, that was big from the defensive side there. And then Thomas Miles gets the only pick in the game. So that was a good game. And that was a great little teaser for us, as we move into conference play of, hey, this is a tough conference. No one's going to get walked over here.
No, any given week, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Moving on to our last and final matchup of this week 3 slate. We had Nichols traveling to Sacramento to play Sacramento State. Final there was 34-7 Sacramento State.
Yeah.
Not ideal on this one.
Yeah, I mean, offense it just felt like they couldn't get a rhythm. Pat McQuaid, he went 20 of 31 for 161 yards. They were throwing a lot of short passes, and then old Guggenheimer, he only had 55 yards. Especially coming off that last week, it was just it wasn't the offensive productivity we were looking for. I mean, they only had 10 rushing yards total as a team. Pat McQuaid was taking a lot of sacks.
Yep.
Versus Sacramento State, where they were able to run the ball for 144 yards. So offense just wasn't getting it going. It just seemed like they couldn't find that rhythm.
Right. And you can't blame this on the defense either. When the offense can't stay out there, put points on the board. I mean, you can only hold a team for so long before the floodgates open. And Sacramento State is a playoff contender. They might make a pretty decent run this year. So I'll start with that. Yeah, I mean, Sac State's a good team, and they probably would have won this game even if Nichols had some offense. But yeah, I'm thinking Coach Rebo and his offensive staff have a long talk.
Yeah.
This week about what we need to change, because it just seems too vanilla, too conservative at times. Not enough deep shots to keep the defense honest. I mean.
Yeah, and then, like you said, defense came up. They were playing well. I mean, Eli Ennis, again, leads for Nichols with 10 total tackles, with one of them being a TFL. So, like we've been talking about, just offense just couldn't get it going.
Nichols' longest drive in the second half was an 8-play, 56-yard drive that ended with a turnover on downs. With the exception of that one drive in the second half, they had 6 drives in the second half that ended in 4 plays or less. You're not going to be able to win like that. I mean, and the 7 points didn't come from the offense either. That was a pick 6.
Yeah, well, that's all we got for our week 3 recap. We are going to kick it over to our interview with head coach of McNeese, Gary Goff. That was a great conversation with him. We had a lot of fun just chopping it up, and obviously his team comes away with a big victory this past weekend. So we are going to kick it to that now, and we'll see you on the other side. All right, we'd like to welcome on our next guest. He is in his 3rd season as head coach of the McNeese Cowboys, Coach Gary Goff. Coach, how we doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Good. We're excited to have you on. Let's start here, though. I don't know if you listen to the podcast or not, but what is it like having a player on your team with the last name Six Killer?
He's got to have one of the best names in college football. That's for sure.
Easily.
Yeah. And the fact that he plays quarterback, right? But yeah, we call him Six. I mean, he's a great young man, and I think he's going to be a phenomenal player. I really do. He's got a lot of talent and still a young guy.
We've seen him, take majority of the snaps past couple games. Is he the guy, or is Clifton dealing with some stuff? What's going on there?
Yeah, Cliff was a little banged up after that second game. So we held him against Texas A&M. He probably could have played. He's about 80%, but he's had a great week of practice this week, and he's back to 100%. So Cliff will get the start, but I'm kind of in that area where both guys could easily play. That's for sure.
That's never a bad problem to have. You need some backup and depth in this league.
Yeah, I feel like we got 2 quarterbacks that could really take the reins at any point.
Coach, first conference matchup this week. How you feeling?
Excited. It's been a crazy week. We had the hurricane upon us and thought we were going to lose an entire day Wednesday, and woke up and the hurricane kind of, went farther east. So we had actually pretty decent weather and got that practice in. So that was a much needed practice. But excited about the first conference game. And, obviously it's an old rivalry. This is the 35th matchup between the two schools. So excited to get them back in the hole.
I don't blame you. Yeah. We just wanted to dive back into your career. Saw you played wide receiver at Valdosta State in college. How was that experience? Any funny, crazy stories you got for us?
Oh, there's I could probably fill the next 12 hours with some of those. But yeah, because I played for Hal Mummy. Mike Leach was our offensive coordinator. And then Dana Holgerson was my receivers coach. So I had three characters I dealt with on a daily basis. And
no kidding.
I'll never forget. And I loved Leach to death. He was one of a kind. But I'll never forget going into his office. I think I was a senior. I was asking about a play. And in his office, there was one picture hanging on the wall. Nothing else. No family photos, nothing. One picture hanging on the wall. And I go and
was it of a pirate?
It was of Geronimo. Yeah. So I go in there and ask him a question about a route or something, and he kind of kicks his feet back on his desk and stares at the wall with the one picture, and he goes, Goff, Geronimo had his troops fill their mouths with water and walk for days on top of days and just sip a little bit of that water out of their mouth as they prepared for battle. And I kind of think that's what we need to do offensively. And, as like a 19-year-old, I looked at him like, what in the world are you talking about?
Yeah.
So I'm still not really sure what he was talking about, but I never got the answer on that route. So I just left the office.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, he's a legend. I mean, his interview answers were just so funny, how in depth he went. It was hilarious.
Left field all the way.
Oh, every single time. I mean, when you finished your playing career at Valdosta, I mean, what was the decision to get into coaching, and did you have any other aspirations outside of coaching?
Well, it really didn't get into coaching. We lost our semifinal game my senior year, and as we walked off the field, Coach Mummy walked across the parking lot and got on a jet. He just became the new head coach at Kentucky. He'd mentioned to me before about how you ought to get into coaching, you'd be good at it. And I was like, no, I'm not coaching. My dad's a businessman. I'm going into the business world. I want to make money. I'm not getting into coaching. Me and my wife, we get married and we're in Atlanta, and I started my dad's company from the ground up. He was the president of a bread company, Flowers Baking. And so I delivered bread. Right out of college, I was on a bread route, delivering bread to Kroger's and Publix and all that for the first 3 years out of college. We were married, and after about 3 years of that, just wasn't very fulfilling and making good money with no kids. She was a high school teacher, and I kind of thought, God, you got it made. You're teaching, you got summers off. So I started volunteer coaching at a high school. Long story short, Hal got me some interviews in Kentucky at a high school. I was offered an offensive coordinator job at a high school there in Kentucky, but my wife wasn't certified to teach in Kentucky. Well, neither was I, but because I was a football coach, they're going to let me teach. So my high school that I played at there, north of Atlanta, in Canton, Georgia, Cherokee High School, they created a position for me. I taught business law, keyboarding, and I coached receivers for basically 2.5 years there. Doors started opening. Dana Holgerson's brother, Brett Holgerson, got the head coaching job at Iowa Wesleyan. Called Hal Mummy and asked, hey, I need a young offensive coordinator that I can't pay but $12,000 to. And he said, I got just the guy for you. That happened to be me. We left Atlanta and moved to Iowa. My wife had never left the state of Georgia. She couldn't get certified to teach in Iowa while I was coaching, getting paid $12,000. She was working at a pool store. So then, everything happens from there. I think we've been to 8 different universities over the last 25 years.
Business, law, typing. Is that what you
Keyboarding.
said?
Yep.
Keyboarding. What is that? What is that?
I taught business law. I had a degree in business administration and marketing. So basically for business law, we would do mock cases. It wasn't even business. It was like what we do, John Benet Ramsey case. We did like murder trials. But hey, the students loved it. They loved it. And then keyboarding, I'm breaking down film, and the students come and I say, okay, hey, for 5 minutes, how many sentences can you type? Go. I turn the timer on. I turn around and start watching film. So as you can imagine, the high school students loved me.
Yeah.
That's a sweet setup.
Yeah. So we look going through your coaching history, you look at, your first collegiate head coaching job at Tiffin. I just want to know, what were some either lessons or, cultures that you learned from or tried to implement that you still use to this day?
When I took over the job at Tiffin, they'd won 4 games in the previous 4 years. They had just recently became a Division II member. We played in the Great Lakes Conference. That was with Grand Valley State, Ferris State, Ashland, Saginaw Valley. It's a really good conference. Well, probably like most young and naive coaches, I thought, hey, I had the magical X's and O's. We run the air raid, and hey, we're going to go there and win, and we're going to climb the ranks fast. Well, it didn't happen. There is no such thing as a magical X's and O's. It's all about the players. After my second year there, I remember going around the table with my staff and saying, hey, talk to my quarterbacks coach. Hey, what are we missing? We got some talent. We're young, but what are we missing? He said, Coach, we just don't have a leader in this room. My D-line coach would say the same thing. We just don't have any leadership. So almost every coach said the same thing, where it dawned on me. And, for us that know Hal Mumme or Mike Leach, such a relaxed, but at the same time, fierce, attacking, not care about what anybody says or thinks, way of being brought up in the game as a player. And then I was Hal's co-offense coordinator with his son Matt Mumme for 6 years. Well, it dawned on me, what kind of training have I ever received as far as developing leadership? Because from a high school player to a collegiate player to an assistant coach, it was basically always a pat on the back and, hey, Gary, hey, go be a leader for us today. So my wife being an English professor, we started doing research. And you might remember this time, or you might not, but Coach Jerry Kill was the head coach at Minnesota at the time. And we came across this organization called The Program. It's made up of military veterans. Most of them have been to war, have Purple Hearts. And it's this organization that goes and works with businesses and collegiate programs to make them a more cohesive, better leadership program. So anyway, I called them and I met with them at one of the coaches conventions. And long story short, I brought them in. They worked with my staff for a full day. Then they worked with my team for a full day and kind of helped me establish our culture. What are our values? What does it mean to play football at the time at Tiffin? And I still bring those same values with me today. But it's kind of a funny story. A guy named Jamie Slife comes in and he looks like James Bond. He's got more kills notched on his belt than wins, right? And first thing he says, all right, Coach Goff, my staff's at the table. All right, Coach Goff, well, hey, what's your mission statement? What's it mean to play football at the time Tiffin? And I was like, it's we're gonna win. And he yells at me. And again, this is a James Bond type person. He yells at me in front of my staff and he goes, if you don't have a mission statement, let me guess, that's all for interviews. If your staff doesn't know what it means to play football here, how in the world is your team going to know? He goes, what is this about? And I'm sitting in my head going, dude,
oh shit,
I paid you to come in here and make us better, but you're screaming at me. But I want to get better too, right? And long story short, we developed our mission statement, and it means something to this day. And it's pretty simple, and that's that we're going to win both on the playing field and in the classroom through our core values that will not be compromised. We talk about our values on a daily basis. Here at McNeese, it's our cowboy values, and it's not just football; it's everyday life. And and it is football terms, adversity and all that kind of stuff, but it's dealing with life.
I'd be shitting my pants if I had somebody just like, hey, what the fuck we doing here? What are we doing?
We still laugh. I'm good friends with him. I've been using them for about 13 years now. We're good friends now. We laugh about that. And I'm like, I didn't even know who you were. And first time I meet you, you're yelling at me. He's like, well, shit. What's it mean to play for you? I was like, I get it now. I get it. But come on, dude, you could have came in a little bit cooler than that.
Coming in red hot. I get it. So, Coach, your next stop after Tifton, Valdosta State, your alma mater, where we mentioned you played wide receiver. What did it mean to coach for your alma mater? And then obviously, leading them to a D2 national championship game in 2021. Can you talk about that run and that experience?
When I took over Tiffin, no lie, we were 164 out of, I think it was 168 D2 programs at the time, right? So we were dead last. And, so coming in there and building that culture and trying to change it and teach them how to win, it took some time, but, we got it right, and knock on wood, they have not had a losing season since. They've been really good. I get pretty lucky, and I get the #1 team in the country. I took over Valdosta State after they just went 14-0 and won the national championship. So how do you go into a program that's just been on top of the mountain? So I couldn't approach them the same way I approached Tiffin from the ground up. I had to kind of approach Valdosta State from the top down. And there was some headaches that first year. The first year, we were 10-2 and had a great season. We were ranked #1 in the nation most of the year, and we lose to West Florida in the second round of the playoffs. First round of the playoffs. So that was a challenge. Then the year we went to the national championship, I felt that we had great leadership. They had bought in. They were obviously very, very talented, but that run was magical, and we had some barn burners of a game at time. When you're one of the best teams in the country, you're going to get everybody's best shot. But
yeah,
what I was very proud about those guys is they had the swagger, they had the confidence, and they never panicked. And I talk about that to this day about confidence is a choice. And we're talking about there here at McNeese. I mean, we get to decide if we're confident or not, or if we listen to the outside noise. And we're getting that. But what a magical run we had there at Valdosta State. Going back and coaching the place that meant so much to me. My wife was an alum there, or is an alum there too, and taking our kids back there, because that's not where my kids are from, since this crazy coaching life of ours.
Right.
So taking them back there and letting them get to experience why Valdosta State meant so much to us and the tradition there, and was a really, really cool experience for us. And it was a tough decision to leave that place. It really was. It's a special place.
That's awesome. That was an incredible run. Me and Kyle were doing research, and we were just like, hey. Like, it was awesome. But I like asking this next question to coaches, and I like to see who was the best athlete either you played with or coached.
Wow. Probably the best one I've coached, and it's kind of a funny story too, is Chris Williams. So, you probably know this. Hal Mummy and Woody Woodenhofer, I was part of that staff that resurrected Southeastern. So we were that staff that brought football back after 18 years hiatus, right?
Yeah.
So, so there in Hammond, it was an amazing ride too, because everybody was so excited about football. And so we were 5-7 the first year of existence. Then the next year we were 7-5, I think, just missed the playoffs. Well, Hal gets the head coaching job at New Mexico State. He would tell you, if he was on this podcast right now, that maybe the biggest mistake of his career is leaving Hammond to go to Las Cruces. But anyway, we were all the assistant coaches were young at the time, so we're fired up. Hey, D1 coaches, let's go, baby. So I'll never forget, we get to Las Cruces, and Hal's walking us around. He's like, all right, well, we got some facility challenges here, but we're going to build this. We're going to change this. So we're kind of, we're buying in. All right, that's going to be cool. Then we start talking about recruiting areas. Hal says, Gary, there's a receiver up in Albuquerque that our president wants you to go look at. And we probably need to recruit this kid. I guess he's one of the better players in the state. Hey, I'm from the Southeast. We know football runs the show in the Southeast, right?
Yeah.
I've never heard of football in New Mexico. So I pull up this kid. He's my size. He's 5'8", 5'9", 130 pounds, soaking wet. And I'm like, we're D1. We're not playing with receivers like this. And coach, we can't do this. Go up and see him, coach. So I go up and see him, and he's in a basketball game. I sit with his parents. And not even a second into the game, he steals a pass, goes down, and windmill dunks it with two hands. And so I stand up, and his mom, Carol, says, you didn't know? He's a junior Olympian high jumper. I was like, no, ma'am, I did not know.
Oh, wow.
So Chris Williams ended up being a Blitnikoff finalist for us when we were at New Mexico State. You couldn't outthrow him. We tell Chase Holbrook, our quarterback, drop back. And on your third step, you throw the ball as far as you possibly can. And Chris played, I think, 9 years professional ball in CFL and NFL. But he ran a 4.3 electronic at the combine. You're talking about the most athletic, small person in the world. He was one of them.
That's insane. Going off of that, what do you think who's the best receiver to ever? I mean, you're obviously a receiver guy. You played it. You coached it. Who's the best receiver in your opinion to play the game? And I got one in mind.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to hear what your thoughts are.
I'm going to date myself here, right? Because my players don't even know who he is, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me here. But when I was growing up, obviously, Jerry Rice was just a technician. I mean, wasn't the fastest guy in the world, but God, his routes were precise. He had great hands. He was tough. He was physical. So I mean, and I'm not a San Francisco 49ers fan at all. I got to go with Jerry Rice. Just he was Mr. Consistent.
That's fair enough. I was thinking Randy Moss, but
yeah, I figured you were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured you were. Yeah,
he was playing at Marshall when my dad was coaching at Tulane, and that was an in-conference game, and my dad just tells stories like we gotta triple team Randy Moss just to cover him, but we still can't cover him.
Yeah,
It was just some of the stories my dad told me about Randy Moss in college was just incredible, and then obviously he goes on to have a great NFL career. But yeah. No, I can't argue with Jerry Rice. I mean, come on. He's a legend.
We'll ask our players, hey, what do you think about Jerry Rice? Who? I'm like, oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Oh, my. That's terrible.
What's this world coming to?
I know.
No doubt.
Coach, moving a little bit more current here, talking about McNeese and what y'all did this offseason. Obviously, y'all were very heavy in the transfer portal. Just want to get your thoughts around the transfer portal itself and the NIL and this new college football landscape we're in.
Yeah, no doubt.
Feel free to speak your mind.
Hey, we ask every coach the same question, and we love the answers because I mean we're all we all agree. We all agree.
It's the world we live in right now, right? I mean, we're not going to get away from it. It's not going away. And part of the reason I came to McNeese is, there's the rich tradition they had here. Used to be one of the top programs in the country. And I knew Lake Charles is a special place. They care about their football. And I knew it could be rebuilt here. The challenge is the portal. Right. Building programs from the ground up anymore. I don't know if that really exists. You got to get in that portal and now in the portal, the NIL is such a big part of it now. But my first year here, we signed a big freshman class. Then first year we had 2 weeks to sign a class, so we signed what we could. Second year, we signed a big freshman class. Well, this past season, we couldn't assign another freshman class. I couldn't because we struggled. We played, I think we played 23 true freshmen or redshirt freshmen a year ago. Right. So we couldn't back that up with another young class. So we lived in the portal. And I think there's some good and some bad to that. Right. I mean, the good is we took our time and we vetted everybody as much as we possibly could. We called their high schools. We called their counselors. We called their previous school, knowing that sometimes when players leave, the previous school is going to be upset with them and might not say the best things about them. But we took our time and really did our research. And I feel like the young men that we've added to our program this past offseason all have a chip on their shoulder, all have something to prove. They all, kind of want to be part of something special, the rebuild program. They're not here saying, hey, I'm going to have a great season. I'm going to LSU, or at least not to my knowledge. They could be, right? But, so I feel like my staff did a great job of vetting some of these transfers. But if it wasn't for the transfer portal, we wouldn't. I think we have one of the largest transfer portal classes at our level. We'd probably be still very, very young again. So there is some goods to it. I think the negatives to it, last week we played Texas A&M. The gap between the power schools and the FCS level is getting larger and larger and larger. When those schools have the ability to buy one of the best players from another power school, I mean, there's a big difference, But you also got to understand you're going to have players come in, you're going to develop them, they're going to be good players, and they're going to leave and go to bigger schools, and we can't be upset about that. That's part of the game now. And we talk to players when we recruit them. We understand that might be their end goal, and if somebody's going to pay them a lot of money to go play, then hey, that's what they've earned.
Well, Coach, that's all we got for you. We really appreciate your time, and good luck this weekend, and good luck the rest of the season.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate what y'all are doing.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
You bet.
All right, welcome back. Great conversation with Coach Goff. Kyle, I mean, what were your takeaways from that?
A lot of fun. I mean, listen to his stories about Mike Leach. That was hilarious.
I know. That was really funny. But yeah, that's all we got for you. Really appreciate it. Shout out Messina's Catering. If you need catering in the greater New Orleans area, check out Messina's. A little plug there. No free ads. But yeah, we'll see everyone on Friday when we do our Week 4 preview. And hope you all have a good one. Peace.
Cheers.